People are always speaking, even when their lips are sealed. If you can learn to listen to the language that has no words, you will never walk blindly through life again. We live in a world where words can be polished, rehearsed, and dressed up in the finest clothes. But the truth? The truth hides in plain sight. It rests in a glance that lingers too long. It dances in the way someone's shoulders lift when you ask a question. It whispers in the tiny tremble of a voice that swears everything is fine. You see, human beings are storytellers by nature, but not all of our stories are told out loud. The most honest stories are written in our bodies, our tone, our silences, and our contradictions. When you learn to read these silent novels, life changes. You will know who's trustworthy before they ever break a promise. You will feel the hidden pain behind someone's smile before they even confess it, and you will recognize the walls people build and how to walk around them. If you stay with me until the end of this talk, you will not just hear tips. You will learn the art, the soul-deep skill of understanding people in a way that makes them feel seen. This isn't about being manipulative. This is about being present enough to hear the heart behind the heartbeat. The eyes do not just see, they confess. They are the unguarded gates of the soul, the one part of a human being that resists full disguise. You can paint them with makeup, frame them with glasses, or hide them behind lashes and lids. But still, they speak. Sometimes they scream. Sometimes they whisper so softly that only a patient observer will hear them, but they are always speaking. If you want to read someone instantly, you must first become a student of this language. It is not enough to glance. You must look with intention, with stillness, with the kind of patience that invites truth to show itself. The eyes tell on us when our words are busy dressing up in politeness. They leak secrets when our mouths are committed to lies. They reveal hunger when our voice says we are satisfied, and they betray fatigue when we are determined to appear strong. When a person looks away too soon, it is rarely just distraction. Often, it is a retreat from exposure. Our gaze meets theirs, and something inside them trembles, not always from guilt, but sometimes from the rawness of being seen. To hold someone's gaze is to risk being known, and not everyone is ready for that. Watch where their eyes travel when your question brushes against the truth. Do they dart toward the floor as if the answer lives somewhere at their feet? Do they flick toward the door, searching for escape? Or do they close briefly as though they are turning inward, pleading for a story to sound believable before they release it? Pupils, too, tell their stories. They are shy storytellers, impossible to command completely. In the presence of joy, connection, or attraction, they widen without permission. In fear or distaste, they constrict, as if trying to let in less of what they are seeing. The change can be so subtle that it requires a quiet eye to catch it. But once you notice it, you cannot unsee it. You will recognize when someone's interest in you is real and when it is a rehearsed politeness. The rhythm of the eyes is as important as their focus. Some people will look too long, holding eye contact with a kind of stiffness meant to prove sincerity. It is the difference between a river flowing naturally and water being forced through a pipe. Real connection has a rhythm, a natural dance of looking and looking away. When someone is trying too hard to convince you, the dance is gone, replaced by a grip. That grip is not intimacy, it is control. There are also the eyes that wander in the middle of a conversation, not out of rudeness, but because the truth inside them is too heavy to carry while meeting your gaze. They may be constructing a careful answer in their mind, and the eyes need the freedom to roam in order to find the right words. Or perhaps they are afraid that the truth might spill out if they stand too close to the well of their own emotions. Even the blink is a sentence in this silent language. A rapid flutter may betray anxiety, an overworked mind, or the tension of keeping a secret. A slow, deliberate blink can mean fatigue, irritation, or an attempt to block out something unpleasant. The absence of blinking, on the other hand, often signals heightened focus, perhaps on you, perhaps on their own internal struggle. You will notice, too, how the eyes change when a person is telling you about something they love. They soften, they brighten. The gaze becomes more fluid, less guarded. The edges of their eyes lift as if their very soul has tilted toward the light. Even if their mouth remains measured, even if their tone remains flat, the eyes will carry the glow of joy. When someone is lying, the eyes can betray them in countless small ways. They may blink more or less. They may avoid your gaze during the lie and seek it immediately after to see if you believe them. They may look to their left or right depending on whether they are recalling memory or inventing it. Though be careful, for this is not an exact science. Human beings are not machines, and their eyes cannot be read as simple codes. Context is everything. Reading the eyes is not about catching people out. It is about understanding the whole truth of their presence. A friend might tell you they are doing just fine, but if you notice their eyes glaze over when they speak, if you see the moisture gathering at the rim of their lashes, you will know there is a river they are trying to dam up. And perhaps with that knowledge, you can meet them with kindness instead of accepting their surface-level answer. Sometimes the truth in the eyes is not about the present moment at all. A certain look can carry the shadow of a past pain. It can be the flicker of recognition when you say something that touches a wound they thought had healed. It can be the guarded squint of someone who has learned to be suspicious before they've learned to be open. In those moments, you are not just reading them now, you are glimpsing the pages of chapters you were never meant to see. To truly learn this art, you must practice not just looking, but seeing. Look when people are comfortable and notice the softness in their gaze. Look when they are uncomfortable and notice the stiffness. Watch them in conversation with others. Watch them when they are unaware of being observed. See how their eyes behave when they are telling the truth versus when they are shaping it. See how their pupils react to laughter, to surprise, to discomfort. Over time, you will start to feel the shift before you even consciously see it. You will sense when the gaze is an invitation and when it is a shield. You will recognize when someone's eyes are full of yes, even if their words say no. You will understand when the brightness is genuine and when it is manufactured to keep you at a safe distance. The eyes will teach you patience because they are both obvious and mysterious. They are the most honest liars you will ever meet and the most deceitful truth-tellers. They will open doors if you respect them, and they will shut you out completely if you try to force them. But if you stand at the doorway of someone's gaze with humility, if you let them know you are there not to judge but to understand, they will tell you everything. The human voice is the trembling bridge between the hidden and the revealed. It carries more than meaning. It carries memory, emotion, history. A person may tell you they are fine, but if you close your eyes and truly listen, the voice will tell you the story their lips dare not speak. The melody may be polished, but the undertone will betray the truth. We are taught from childhood to control what we say. We rehearse our words. We choose them carefully. We practice politeness, diplomacy, deflection. But very few are taught to control the way we say them, and even fewer can manage it in moments of real emotion. That is where the truth slips through. It is not in the vocabulary, but in the vibration, not in the structure of the sentence, but in the rise and fall of the breath that carries it. The voice is a weather system. You can feel the warmth of a sunny day in a tone that's open and easy. You can feel the chill of an approaching storm in the sudden stiffness of pitch or the clipped edges of words. Some voices carry the heaviness of rain, slow and deliberate, as though every syllable is weighed down by thought. Others carry the erratic gusts of wind, words rushing out in bursts, betraying excitement, fear, or urgency. Listen to speed. When words tumble out too quickly, it can be a sign of nerves, a desire to get past something before it can be questioned. Rapid speech may also be a kind of defense, a way of throwing so much information at you that you don't have the chance to pause and look closer. On the other hand, when someone speaks unusually slowly, drawing out their phrases, it might be hesitation born of caution, or it might be the careful choreography of a lie. Notice the pauses. Silence between words can be more revealing than the words themselves. A pause before an answer may mean someone is crafting a response to protect themselves. A pause after a statement can be a silent question, a search for your reaction, a hope for reassurance. There is the pause that comes from forgetting, light, harmless, fleeting, and then there is the pause that comes from holding back, heavy, calculated, often accompanied by a shift in the eyes or the hands. Listen for cracks. A voice that breaks mid-sentence, even slightly, is rarely random. Sometimes it's fatigue, sometimes it's emotion slipping past the guard. A single quiver in the middle of an otherwise steady tone can be the moment the truth almost escaped. That tremble may be so subtle that the speaker themselves does not notice. But if you do, you have been handed the key to something deeper. Pitch tells its own tale. When someone's tone rises unexpectedly at the end of a statement, it can signal uncertainty or the quiet hope that you will affirm what they have just said. A drop in pitch might mark resignation or the settling weight of reality. Voices tighten when the throat closes in fear or stress. They grow rounder and fuller when the speaker is at ease. Insecurity often shrinks the sound, making it thin and careful. Confidence, not arrogance, but true confidence, opens the voice and lets it fill the space naturally. Volume matters, but not in the way most think. Loudness is not always confidence, and softness is not always timidity. Some raise their voice to hide the shaking underneath, the way a drum can drown out a faint heartbeat. Others lower their voice when speaking their most important truths, almost as if sharing a secret with the air. The sudden change in volume, not the level itself, is the signal to notice. If someone who has been speaking loudly begins to whisper, lean in. If someone who has been quiet suddenly bursts forth, pay attention to what has cracked open inside them. Tone is perhaps the most delicate thread. You can wrap bitterness in a polite phrase, but the sharpness will hum beneath it. You can declare forgiveness with your lips, but if your tone is flat, the words will sound like hollow coins clinking in an empty jar. There is warmth that cannot be faked, a softness that seeps through without permission. There is also coldness that no arrangement of cheerful words can disguise. When you listen deeply, you will notice that people often say two things at once: what they intend to say and what they cannot help but reveal. The intention rides on the surface like a boat, while the revelation swims just below in the current. You are not listening for the boat, you are listening for the water. Context is important. Some people's voices naturally tremble, others naturally rush. But the key is to notice the shift, how the voice changes in different moments, with different subjects, with different people. The change is the truth's shadow. If a person who normally speaks with energy suddenly turns slow and quiet when discussing a certain topic, the voice is showing you where the wound lives. If someone who is usually cautious suddenly bursts into speed and laughter, they are telling you where they feel most safe. It takes practice to hear beyond the words. At first, you will notice only the obvious: anger sharpened to a blade, sadness wrapped in a sigh. But with time, you will hear the smaller things: the way joy makes the breath lighter, how guilt thickens the throat, how nostalgia stretches the vowels like taffy. You will hear how love, even unspoken, softens every consonant. And when you hear it, you will realize that most people do not know they are revealing themselves. They believe they have hidden well behind carefully chosen phrases. But the voice is a traitor to secrecy. It does not understand deceit the way the mind does. It remembers the body's truth and carries it, whether the speaker wants it to or not. Sometimes you will hear a truth that hurts. You will hear the exhaustion in a parent's voice, even as they assure their child they are fine. You will hear the longing in a friend's tone when they congratulate you. You will hear the hopelessness in the voice of someone telling you they still believe. And sometimes you will hear the beauty of joy too large to be contained, the way laughter bursts through a sentence, the way gratitude makes the voice linger on certain words like a prayer. To listen like this is to step into a place of both power and responsibility. Power, because you can see beyond the veil. Responsibility, because once you hear it, you cannot pretend you did not. The voice will teach you to look again at those you thought you knew, to realize there are worlds inside them you have yet to visit. When you truly listen beyond the words, you stop reacting to only what is said and start responding to what is meant. You will know when to challenge and when to comfort, when to question, and when to simply hold the silence for someone else to fill. You will find that the voice is not just sound. It is a confession made of breath, a diary that does not need paper. This way of listening is not something you do once and master. It is an art you carry with you, refining with every conversation, with every moment of stillness between sentences. The more you listen, the more you will hear. And the more you hear, the more human beings will reveal themselves to you without even knowing they have spoken. Before a person ever speaks, their body has already written the first chapter. Posture is the earliest and most unguarded sentence we offer to the world. It is the truth we carry without permission, the memoir our spine, shoulders, and hands are constantly writing. You can dress your body in the finest clothes. You can rehearse your words like a polished play, but your posture will betray the part of you that is too ancient, too instinctive to lie. Posture is not just about standing tall or slumping low. It is the architecture of a person's state of being. It shows where they feel safe and where they feel threatened. It speaks of confidence, defeat, joy, caution, and sometimes even rebellion. If you want to read someone instantly, you must learn to read the unspoken stories their body holds in its frame. When someone walks into a room, their posture will tell you how they feel about that space, long before their mouth forms a greeting. A straight back, shoulders relaxed yet open, head held at ease. This is the posture of someone who feels welcome. They belong there, and they know it. But a body that folds inward, shoulders curling toward the chest, neck drawing down, that is a body trying to make itself smaller. This shrinking can be a shield, a way of avoiding the weight of attention. Sometimes it is shame. Sometimes it is exhaustion. Sometimes it is simply habit from years of carrying burdens unseen. The tilt of the head is a subtle but telling gesture. A head held level speaks of balance and readiness, while a head tilted slightly to one side can signal curiosity or empathy or, in certain contexts, skepticism. A head tilted downward may show submission, humility, or an attempt to hide emotion. A chin lifted too high can be defiance or pride, depending on the rest of the body's conversation. Pay attention to how someone's body takes up space. Confident people expand, not aggressively, but naturally. They sit with their feet planted, shoulders open, arms resting without tension. They allow themselves to occupy the space they're in as if they have earned the right to be there. Insecure or guarded people may keep their limbs close to their torso, cross their arms or legs tightly, and keep their body angled away from others. This is not always a conscious choice. The body often retreats before the mind admits why. Leaning is its own language. Leaning forward can mean interest, investment, even affection. But the same gesture, when combined with stiff shoulders or a tense jaw, can mean dominance, the desire to control the space between you. Leaning back can be relaxation or disengagement, again depending on the rest of the posture. The key is to read posture as a whole sentence, not a single word. The shoulders are perhaps the most eloquent storytellers of all. Shoulders that roll forward often carry weight, not just physical, but emotional. Years of feeling unworthy or unwelcome can etch themselves into the curve of a back. Shoulders drawn upward toward the ears tell of tension, stress, or fear, even in someone who insists they are fine. Relaxed shoulders are rare in people who are pretending. They are the quiet signature of someone whose body has no need to defend itself in that moment. Even the way someone stands still speaks. Do they stand with their weight balanced evenly, or do they lean heavily on one foot? The former often signals stability and readiness, while the latter may reveal discomfort, impatience, or a desire to leave. Restless shifting, tapping feet, or swaying slightly are signs that the mind and body are not at ease together. Hands are often the truth tellers of posture. A person may hold their face in calm control while their hands fidget, clench, or curl into themselves. Hands stuffed into pockets can be a sign of insecurity or simply a comfort habit. Hands resting openly on a table or in a lap often signal ease, though they can also be a display of intentional calm, the way someone might keep a mask from slipping. When someone is excited or engaged, their posture often leans subtly toward the source of their interest. Their body becomes animated, gestures widening, movements quickening. In contrast, when someone feels threatened or bored, their body often angles away from the person or object they wish to avoid. Their torso may turn slightly, even if their feet remain planted, a quiet attempt at escape without leaving the scene. There are also the small, almost invisible adjustments. The straightening of a spine when someone important walks in, the sudden crossing of arms when a sensitive subject arises, the slight stepping back when a line has been crossed. These changes happen faster than conscious thought. They are the body's way of protecting the heart before the mind can intervene. Posture can also carry the weight of the past. A lifetime of hardship can bend a back, even when the bones are strong. A childhood spent in fear can train a body to fold inward, to move quietly, to slip through spaces unnoticed. Conversely, a life of encouragement and belonging can leave its imprint in the way someone walks with lightness, the way their chest opens naturally toward the world. Reading posture requires not just observation, but empathy. It is not enough to notice that someone is slouching. You must ask yourself why without judgment. The posture of fatigue looks different from the posture of defeat, though both may appear similar at first glance. The posture of arrogance can resemble the posture of self-assurance, but the former often holds a stiffness, while the latter flows with ease. It is also important to notice the difference between public posture and private posture. Some people straighten their spine and lift their chin the moment they step into a crowd, wearing their confidence like armor. But in the quiet of a one-on-one conversation, their shoulders may sink, their frame may soften, and the truth of their vulnerability will show. Others may seem small and hesitant in public, but unfold like flowers in the presence of someone they trust. The most revealing moments often happen in transitions. Watch how someone's posture changes when they move from one group to another, when they shift from speaking to listening, when they move from a topic they enjoy to one they avoid. These small transitions are like cracks in the mask, giving you glimpses of the truth beneath. Posture is not always intentional, but it is always meaningful. It reflects mood, memory, and moment all at once. Sometimes it reflects the body's conversation with itself, how it holds the heart, how it shields the mind, how it presents the soul. When you learn to read posture, you learn to see the story someone is living right now in the present moment, unedited and unspoken. And when you truly see it, you realize that every person's posture is both a shield and a signature, a way of guarding themselves and a way of saying without words, "This is who I am today." There are moments in human interaction so brief, so fleeting, that most people miss them entirely. They flash across the face in less than the blink of an eye, the tightening of the lips, the narrowing of the eyes, the twitch of a cheek, the sudden lift of an eyebrow. These are microexpressions, the lightning bolts of truth that strike before the mind has time to cover the sky. Microexpressions are pure. They are the heartbeat before the mask, the pulse of raw emotion that cannot be rehearsed or edited. You may have practiced your smile in the mirror. You may have learned to keep your tone even and your hands still, but the face, for that split second, refuses to obey. It leaps forward to declare what the soul feels, even when the mouth is busy saying something else. Imagine someone telling you they are happy for you, their words smooth and measured, but for a fraction of a second, before the smile settles in place, you see it, the corners of the mouth tightening, the eyes narrowing ever so slightly. It is not malice. It may be jealousy, longing, or simply the ache of wishing they were where you are. That moment passes so quickly that if you are not paying attention, you will believe only the words. Or consider the flicker of sadness that passes through someone's face when they say they are doing fine. The eyes soften, the brows draw together, the mouth slackens just enough to tell the truth. And then, in less than a heartbeat, the face rearranges itself into a practiced expression, and you are left wondering if you imagined it. Microexpressions are not just about lies. They are about truth trying to escape. Even in joy, they appear. A genuine smile will lift not only the lips, but the cheeks, crinkling the eyes into warmth. A forced smile stops short, never reaching the eyes, leaving them cold while the mouth pretends. That difference, however brief, is the lightning strike that tells you if the joy is real. Fear can be seen in a flash, even in the bold. The eyes widen for an instant, the mouth opens slightly, the breath catches, all before composure returns. Anger shows itself in a sudden tightening of the jaw, a flare of the nostrils, a downward pull at the brow. Surprise opens the eyes and raises the brows, but just for a moment before curiosity or confusion takes its place. The challenge is that these expressions move faster than conscious thought. They can last a quarter of a second, sometimes less. They are gone before the person speaking even knows they happened. But if you train your eye to see them, you begin to read conversations within conversations. The truth, running beneath the surface like a secret river. To notice microexpressions, you must slow your mind even while the world rushes. It is not about staring, but about truly being present. Let the person's face be your horizon for that moment. Watch what happens when you ask a question that matters. Notice the instant between your words and their answer. In that instant, the truth often slips out, unguarded. Context is everything. Not every flicker means deceit. Sometimes a flash of disgust has nothing to do with you, but with a memory that surfaced uninvited. Sometimes the quick lift of an eyebrow is not skepticism, but surprise. The meaning lives not in the expression alone, but in the pairing of that expression with the words, the tone, and the posture. There is a sacred responsibility in learning to read these truths, because once you see them, you will begin to understand people more than they intend to be understood. You will know when they are hurting but do not want comfort, when they are proud but afraid to show it, when they are intrigued but pretending not to be. You will know, too, when they are genuine, when the light in their face matches the light in their words. Microexpressions remind us that truth is not always an act of will. Sometimes it is an act of reflex. You cannot choose how your face will move in that first unguarded second. It happens because the body, in its wisdom, believes in honesty even when the mind does not. The gift of noticing these lightning truths is not to use them for manipulation, but for understanding. To recognize the longing behind someone's polite smile is not to shame them, but to hold them with compassion. To see the flicker of fear in someone's face is to offer steadiness instead of pressing harder. To notice the sudden lift of joy is to join them in it, even if they try to hide it. And perhaps the most beautiful thing about microexpressions is that they are proof of our humanity. They show that no matter how carefully we guard ourselves, we are still creatures of feeling, moved and marked by the moment. They are the lightning strikes that reveal for a heartbeat the full landscape of who we are. Distance is a language most people never learn to read, yet it speaks in every interaction. The space a person chooses to keep between themselves and others is not just physical. It is emotional architecture. It is the invisible map of where they feel safe, where they feel exposed, and where they will not allow you to go. Some people live close to others, both in body and in spirit. They stand near when they speak. They reach out to touch your arm as they laugh. They lean in when you share a thought. Their nearness is not a tactic, but a declaration. I am open to you. I am letting you in. Others keep space like a moat around a castle. Even when you step toward them, their body shifts subtly back. The message is quiet but firm. You may speak to me, but you will not cross this bridge just yet. This space is not always conscious. It is shaped by culture, by upbringing, by the unspoken lessons life has taught. In some cultures, closeness is warmth. In others, it is intrusion. In some families, hugs and touches are as natural as breathing. In others, they are rare, reserved only for moments of great significance. But beyond culture, there is the personal history, the moments that have taught someone whether nearness is comfort or danger. When you notice how someone manages space, you learn how they manage trust. The person who moves toward you as they speak is often inviting connection, testing the waters of intimacy. The one who holds themselves apart may not be cold, they may simply be careful. Sometimes distance is not rejection, it is protection, and that protection may soften over time if you prove yourself safe. Space changes with the subject of conversation. Watch how the body shifts when a new topic enters the air. You might see someone step closer without realizing it when they speak of something they love. You might see them step back, even if only by an inch, when the subject touches a wound. Those inches are revelations. You will notice it in groups as well. Some people drift naturally toward the center, positioning themselves where the flow of conversation and laughter is strongest. Others stay at the edges, keeping a watchful eye but never fully immersing themselves. The center offers connection but also exposure. The edges offer safety but also isolation. Where a person stands in a room often mirrors where they feel they belong in life. Even seated, space speaks. In a meeting, two people may sit with an empty chair between them, though plenty of seats are available. In a cafe, someone might choose the table tucked in the corner rather than one near the door. These are not just choices of comfort. They are expressions of how much of themselves they are willing to share with the world in that moment. Space can be an invitation or a wall. When someone steps into your personal circle and you do not step back, you are silently saying, "I accept you here." When someone draws closer and you lean away, you are saying, "Not yet." The dance of these small shifts reveals the rhythm of trust between people. There is also the space people keep with their eyes. Some will meet your gaze from across the room, closing the emotional distance before they ever close the physical one. Others will look away until the space between you feels smaller, until they can meet your eyes without feeling exposed. The space a person carries can change depending on who is present. In the company of those they trust, they may shrink that space without thought, standing shoulder to shoulder, leaning in to share quiet words. In the company of strangers or those who have hurt them before, they may expand it, keeping enough room to retreat if needed. That shift, more than any polite smile or casual greeting, tells you exactly how they feel. Even the way someone passes by you can speak. Do they brush past lightly, acknowledging your presence with a nod or a touch? Or do they move around you in a wide arc, careful not to cross too close? The path they take says much about the path you have in their life.